So you got to put on the little live stream thing. I use StreamYard to get it out to all the platforms and also on X. You got to put some kind of a headline for your live stream and the podcast, what it becomes. And I usually try to just like list out all this crap we're going to talk about today and, how you can make your voice heard about it and, how you can vent about stuff. The only thing I could think of as of last night, watching these fires in California and into this morning, is just one simple thing. Los Angeles, the deadly cost of incompetence, because that's what it all comes down to. That's what it is. It's completely and totally incompetent. And already, the weasels responsible for this incompetence, for this deadly incompetence, and the price of it to get exposed, a great American city like Los Angeles, California. That was the price to finally wake up, if we do. I think we do. That losing Los Angeles, and it'll rebuild, but it's going to take years. And already people are flooding out of there. Will they go back? Let's say you're in Pasadena, California, right? You're not rich. You're not a celebrity. And by the way, how about all these celebrities, right? Oh, the celebrities that lost their homes and restaurants and clubs. Who the hell cares? Too much of that. And I get that they get the attention because they have big social media accounts and everything else. Who the hell cares? Let's care about the regular people, many of whom, let's not forget about this, that's another element. Put that on our list of incompetence. Many of whom don't have fire insurance because the state of California ran the companies away. They just left. State Farm left. They just did. That's their fault as well as the state's fault. But there's another one to add to the list. There's another one. So the regular people that lost their homes, you think they're going, there's nothing to come back to. What are they going to do? So they're going somewhere. So we always ask, like, what do you do? What do we all do? And I've already heard this too. Well, I live in Texas. I live in Arizona. I live in California. I live in Florida. I live in New Hampshire. What am I supposed to do? Here's what you do. You make sure after all of this, that this crap, that the deadly incompetence doesn't creep into your community. That's what you do, because it's there, trust me. This whole crisis of incompetence in Los Angeles that has led to the destruction of their city didn't start off this big. Decades ago, started small, like maybe in your community, wherever you live. Started small, and it grew, and it got powerful. And then all of a sudden, look where you are right now. At the cost of that great American city. Look where it is. So what do you do? Because what I try to do with this thing is always, we'll talk about the headlines and what's trending, but how do you make your voice heard about it, right? That's all I try to do as a communication person and as a broadcaster. How do you get your voice heard about these kinds of things that are trending? Some of it's fun. Some of it's lighthearted. Some of it's the worst thing we've ever talked about, like L.A. How do you get your voice heard? Look to see where this stuff is popping up in your community and make sure it stops right in its tracks. That's what you do. So that's what we're talking about today. So thanks for finding Wicked Radio. I wish it was lighter-hearted stuff, but it's too important not to talk about, that's for sure. We'll talk about these incompetent fools and the cast of characters that led to this and the policies that led to this. Thanks for finding us in the live stream. We'll live on here as a replay on X and YouTube. It's on Facebook now as well, and the audio podcast, wherever you get those, it's there as well. I guess we'll start with the update. So that it got even worse last night. Now you got to wonder, how much of this is arson as well, right? Because now you've got the Hollywood Hills fire, they say. I tried to look at a containment score, a percentage. They're still talking like zero containment for the Palisades fire, and now you've got this Hollywood Hills fire. And how horribly symbolic is that, too? Did you see the Hollywood sign and the fire behind it? It looked like a movie, a horrible, tragic movie last night. But, that's where we are. So that thing spread. So more and more people out. There's more gridlock of people trying to get out of that town. Absolutely awful. But let's start with the cast of characters of fools. Let's start with the mayor of Los Angeles. Well, she happened to be, and I guess this part isn't really her fault. She was on vacation or I don't know what it was. She was in Africa. So she finally made her way back yesterday. Now, she was in Europe getting her connecting flight back to the States, I guess. And a reporter from Sky News, and good for him, good for them, asking the real questions, asked her some of the most directed questions I've ever heard of any elected official. I mean, right there, right with a camera and microphone in her face, and she literally had no answers. It was just silent the entire time. This is L.A. Mayor Karen Bass getting questioned by Sky News yesterday, finally on her way back to her city.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor?
Oof.
Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today?
I'd play the rest of it for you and cut off the clip there, but there's nothing to hear. Literally, is she standing there, I guess waiting to board the plane? She's on the I guess, the gate, getting ready to go into the tunnel to board the plane. She stood there for 2 minutes. I timed it. 2 minutes, completely silent with no answers. Won't talk to the press. Unless it's a controlled press conference. Makes her way back to Los Angeles and updated the fine residents of her city. I just actually added this. You got to laugh in these situations. So she's up there, controlled press conference, and she gives all the details and the update and what they're doing to try to stop it and blah, 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 blah. Listen to this. You want to talk about incompetence? Here you go.
Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together is how we will get through this. Through the heroism of our firefighters, the vigilance.
Yeah. Just go to URL. So obviously, you know what it led to this? She was trying to give out a website. She just gave out URL. So probably, this is the way this works. In her notes from her press person, it said, all this information is available at, and there was probably a parentheses, give out URL. Because you're the mayor, you would figure it's top of mind. It's like muscle memory to give out the city website for information, right? No, she actually says, go to URL. Oh, my God. So there's incompetent character number one, or at least top of the list. Now let's go to Gavin. Oh, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who, by the way, has had close to 15 years in leadership to try to get this done as governor and lieutenant governor for a long time as well. So all of this stuff, all of this incompetence of cleaning up the brush, making sure that the water reserves were full, fire mitigation, anything. He could have stepped in that, but they're so afraid of offending and driving away the eco-terrorists that he actually did nothing. And there he is. Then he's crying crocodile tears as he's looking at the city burn down. And there's Anderson Cooper, and there's Anderson going, oh, I hate to ask the question, but President-elect Trump is blaming you. Listen to this weasel and how he hides behind the criticism instead of taking responsibility.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect chose to attack you, blame you for this.
One can't even respond to it. And it's, people are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids lost their schools. Families completely torn asunder.
Yeah.
Churches burned down.
Right.
This guy wanted to politicize it.
Oh, that's what it is. So criticizing him. See, he wants to deflect and hide once again and blame everybody else, won't take any responsibility as the governor of that state. Not only should he resign, as Trump has called for in a Truth Social post, that Newsom should be in jail. That guy should be in jail for negligence, criminal, deadly negligence, for ignoring all these warning signs. They've known for years and years that what has to be done. When was the last time, when did you first start to hear, ask you a question, think about this. You know, if you know any Californians, it's such a big area. I know people that live in California, and friends of mine that live in Southern California have told me for, going on probably pretty close to 15 years, I've at least known about the fire danger that was there, and people have told me they've just been lucky so far. They said someday it'll take some kind of fire like this with the exact wrong kind of wind, the exact wrong kind of spot, and the conditions that we have right now, and the city's going to burn down. I've heard it for over a decade at least. Well, here we are. It happened. So if regular people like us know that, you don't think officials like him, like he knew it, but could have done something as lieutenant governor for 8 years and then governor? Nothing. Criminally negligent, and now we'll blame everybody else around him. The weaseling has already begun from the weasels. They're listened to less now, for sure, absolutely. But again, the takeaway is to make sure that these weasels don't incorporate their way and weasel their way into your communities, because they're there already. You got to make sure that they don't get power. There's Newsom. And we talked about this. So we've got lack of fire mitigation. The eco-terrorists have gained so much power in a city like that they have forced the leadership of California not to do controlled burns. They won't do that because, some hedgehog or something will get hurt. So they stopped the controlled burns to get rid of the brush, the underbrush that's there. More on that in a minute. You've got complete incompetence of just stupid people running that city and that state, like those two, Mayor Bass and Gavin Newsom, like we just played. And now we're going to talk about possibly the most deadly element of this entire thing. Now, the rank and file fire department of Los Angeles is fantastic. People just doing the absolute best they can, right? The regular folks, not the leadership. The regular folk, firefighters, brave people, first responders. But there's not enough of them. And they drove a lot of good people. and sane voices away in the Los Angeles Fire Department over the past 5 years, like what has happened in many communities throughout the country. Because your ridiculous DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Let's not forget about the jab. A lot of qualified, strong, common sense voices left that department because you forced them to get a jab and they didn't want to. And you threatened their pensions and you threatened their jobs, so they just left and went other places. And now you have this. So let's go to the leadership of the LA Fire Department itself. Kristen Crowley is the LA Fire Department chief. Here's a little expose NBC did on her last year, talking about the importance of DEI, diversity and inclusion in her department. Here's what she said.
Sure. One that includes a 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity.
People ask me, well, what number are you looking for? I say, I'm not looking for a number. It's never enough.
So, and I'm sure there are a lot of people in the LGBT community like her that are completely qualified and are great and are smart and are common sense. Not all of them, because what you do is you limit the talent pool and you also drive out a lot of other qualified people. It's just another quota. It's just a quota from a different group of people. That's all it is. That's all DEI does. The joke is DEI should be DIE because people die when incompetence takes place. When you hire people because of their sexual orientation, gender, or skin color, instead of their merit. If they are all those things and they're qualified to do the job, great. But when that becomes the priority, which is the absolute fact, which happens, this has happened, that's what DEI is, that's what you get. And by the way, the top leadership of the LA Fire Department, neither here nor there, I'll just point out that they are all women. Her assistant fire chief, and the chief of training, they're all women and they all happen to be lesbians. They just are. I'm just stating that as a fact. Does that happen without DEI? I don't know. I'm not too sure. But that's a fact. Now, how long have we known about the fire mitigation or lack thereof in California? Years. I said just personally, just hearing the stories about it from people that live out there, at least it's got to be going on 15 years. How long have they been talking about this? Well, let's go to President Trump talking about it. And at the end of this, I'll tell you when he was saying this. President Trump talking about California not being fire prepared before at a cabinet meeting. Here he is. And you guess when he said this.
There's no reason for those fires to be like they are. They're leaving them dirty. It's a disgraceful thing. Old trees are sitting there rotting and dry, and instead of cleaning it up, they don't touch them. They leave them, and we end up with these massive fires that we're paying hundreds of billions of dollars for to fix, and the destruction is incredible. So I think California ought to get their act together and clean up their forests and manage their forests because it's disgraceful.
Any guesses how long ago that was? Was that just the other day when you heard about the fires? Nope. Take a guess when he said that. 6 years ago. 6 years ago. Again, it's been going on for decades. Everybody knows this has been incompetent. But 6 years ago, he said that to clean it up. Because that might have been the Malibu fire? I don't know, whatever it was. Did they listen? Did they clean up their act like he called for? Nope. Absolutely not. Because who has the power? The eco-terrorists who wouldn't let them clean up the brush fire. That's who did. And this incompetent leadership from the state level, the city level, all of it. The crisis of incompetence and the cost of waking up to this lost a great city like Los Angeles, California. It'll rebuild, but that was the cost. All right, let's go to the current president for, what, a couple more days anyway, a few more days. President Biden was briefed. Yep, might have seen this. He was briefed on the LA situation. Newsom was there right beside him, giving him the detail on what's going on and what we need, right? Well, Biden didn't tell you in this that we just sent another $400 million to Ukraine. I guess that's neither here nor there. That was already earmarked for Ukraine, but you think those people could have used it? People that don't have fire insurance? Yeah, absolutely. And then, after being briefed before the press and a couple of onlookers, Biden, who is an absolutely despicable human being, made it a point to announce that, well, he's got some good news.
The good news is I'm a great grandfather as of today.
It's okay, everybody. I'm sorry you lost your home and your city's on fire, literally on fire. But he's going to be a great-grandfather again. Right? That's important. Yeah, that's read the room, Joe. Yeah. People are losing their lives, but you're adding to yours. Is he going to acknowledge this one, by the way? Or is this going to be like the other one that he refuses to acknowledge for political purposes? What an absolute, total scumbag. That's all he is. He's a horrible. Don't ever, ever in the years going forward. And when he finally dies, and they'll have some sort of memorial for Joe Biden, and they'll try to paint him as some sort of a good human being. He's a despicable human being, an awful, awful, awful person. And there's your example right there. So incredibly clueless. He can't read the room and totally tone deaf. He talks about the birth of his new great-granddaughter, or whatever it is, when he's talking about the fires in Los Angeles, California. Clueless. Absolutely clueless. But that's where we are. The deadly cost of incompetence in all those areas. Let's just recap for a quick second. Lack of fire mitigation. They won't clear out the brush. They've been told for decades now to be able to do that, but the eco-terrorists have so much power that they were able to stop that from happening. That's why they can't do it, and they won't spend the money on it. Oh, by the way, they cut, you heard the Sky News reporter there, Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, who's finally back in town. They cut almost $18 million from the LA Fire Department budget this year. It's close to $20 million cut. You think they could have used that? You know, you see some reports here saying, and there are no firefighters to be seen, and the ones that are here can't get any water out of the hydrants. Well, the water thing is because they have emptied the water for years. By the way, they're also saying this. Don't ever listen to the climate change, climate crisis as being any kind of a reason for this, because it's not. They had 2 summers of record rainfall, and all that water went away. This is documented. You can look it up. In 2023, in March of 2023, drought-ridden California released 20,000 cubic feet per second, 20,000 cubic feet of water per second into the American River because they had no place to store it. Again, going back decades, telling them you need to store a bunch of water in case a fire like this capacity happens. Did they listen? Absolutely not. The water went away. This isn't climate crisis. Absolutely not. Don't listen to that. So there's that as well. The other factor, the DEI, the DIE, hiring and promoting and rewarding diversity and the color of your skin and your sexual orientation over competence. There's another reason. How'd you like to be stuck in that department, right? Just somebody trying to work out the last couple of years of your contract before you get your pension. There's that as well. And this is another thing too. And I think you heard a little bit of this. Here's another area to blame. Media complicity in this. You heard a little bit with Anderson Cooper as he talked to Gavin Newsom on the street there. I hate to even mention this, but the president-elect is blaming you for this. Well, yeah, no kidding. Everybody in the media knew about all of the warnings for California. Everybody knew about this. It did nothing. It just covered for these Democrats. Every single one of them did for years. And they're still going to try. It's going to get pushed back on, but they're still going to try to blame everything else in the world. They'll blame Trump for this. They'll blame a climate crisis for this. Blame lack of funds. They'll probably blame COVID for this. Who the hell knows? Don't believe it. Because just as much as all of these other factors, the media is just as much to blame for this crisis, this deadly cost of incompetence of what we're seeing at the deadly cost of Los Angeles, California because of these fires. That's what's happening. That's why I called it the cost of incompetence. So what do? Because I always try to bring it to this. This is what's trending, obviously, the biggest story in the world right now. How do you get your voice heard? Like I said, the biggest takeaway and the most important thing is don't let this creep into power in your community. That's what you do, because it's there. I promise you it's there. This didn't start as powerful. This incompetence didn't start as powerful in California as it is right now. It started small. Started with some small, probably Ivy League lunatics pushing this stuff. The eco-terrorists, they became more, the environmentalists, by the way, are way more powerful than we realized. Way more. They run everything. I think they're running the Democrat Party. It started small there, and it grew into what you see right now. That's what it is. And it's in I don't care where you live, Texas, Georgia, California, Arizona, Massachusetts, Florida. Anyway, it's here. It's just not as powerful yet. And you have to speak up. And when you see these policies creeping up, all of us, it's on all of our shoulders to make sure it doesn't grow. That's what we do. That's how we make our voices heard. Because this can't ever be allowed to happen again. And where are all these people in California going to go, by the way? Arizona, Texas, Florida? I don't know. And also don't let them vote in the same policies that led to Los Angeles. That's for damn sure. All right, just to lighten it up a quick second. I'm going to be watching this just to take my mind off this crap. We've got a pretty good football game on tonight, neither here nor there, and definitely not the most important thing going on in the world right now. Penn State, Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl, about 7:30 kickoff time for that if you want to take your mind off this stuff. So Check it out. The deadly cost of incompetence. Don't let it come to your community. That's the main takeaway. Don't take any crap from anybody. That's the constant takeaway. Thanks for finding me. Tomorrow's Friday. Hopefully some better news to talk about. We'll talk about that, how you can get your voices heard about it. Don't forget about the audio podcast as well, and living on a replay on X, and get verified on X. It's worth it. All kinds of features open up for you. With all that said, let's look for some good news where we can find it. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.